The US-China trade conflict just escalated dramatically, sending shockwaves through global markets and reigniting fears of a prolonged economic standoff. On October 11, 2025, President Trump announced a sweeping 100% tariff on all Chinese imports, a move that instantly doubles the cost of every product coming from China, from smartphones and computers to toys, furniture, and even basic household goods. This isn't a minor tweak to trade policy, it's a seismic shift in the way the world does business, with ripple effects that will be felt in every corner of the global economy. The fragile calm of recent months is shattered, and the trade war is back in the global spotlight, dominating headlines and sparking urgent debates among policymakers and business leaders. Underlying tensions and deep mistrust between Washington and Beijing have boiled over, with huge consequences for both economies and the millions of workers and families who depend on stable trade. This new tariff stacks on top of existing duties, creating a massive financial barrier for Chinese goods and making it far more expensive for American companies to import the products they rely on. The Trump administration is sending a clear and unmistakable message. It's willing to take unprecedented steps to pressure Beijing, even if it means risking economic pain at home. Businesses, governments, and consumers worldwide are bracing for impact, scrambling to assess the fallout and searching for ways to adapt to this new reality. For everyday Americans, this means a new wave of uncertainty and likely price hikes on thousands of products, from the latest electronics and trendy clothing to everyday essentials, forcing families to rethink their budgets. Companies that have long relied on Chinese manufacturing now face tough choices: absorb the higher costs and risk shrinking profits, raise prices for consumers, or embark on the costly and time-consuming process of finding new suppliers in other countries. This isn't just a political battle between two superpowers, it's a direct hit to your wallet, your job security, and the overall health of the US economy, with the potential to slow growth and dampen consumer confidence. The stakes are higher than ever, and the path forward is more uncertain, with investors, businesses, and families all anxiously watching for the next move. The world is watching to see what happens next, as the outcome of this trade war could reshape the global economy for years to come. A tariff is essentially a tax that governments place on goods brought in from other countries, known as imports. When a product crosses a border, the importing country can charge a fee, which is the tariff. The main idea behind tariffs is to make foreign products more expensive, so that shoppers are more likely to choose items made in America. This is supposed to help local businesses and keep jobs in the country. Tariffs have been a tool of economic policy for centuries, used by countries to protect their industries or respond to trade disputes. But this new 100% tariff rate is truly unprecedented in its scale and impact. In the past, tariffs were considered high if they reached 10%, 25%, or even 30%. But doubling the cost of imported goods overnight, as this 100% tariff does, is a dramatic shift that changes the rules of the game. For example, imagine a $100 TV imported from China. With this new tariff, that same TV now costs $200 before shipping. Taxes or store markups are even added. For many retailers, this makes selling these products nearly impossible. Unlike previous tariffs that targeted specific industries like steel or electronics, this one applies to nearly all products coming from China, everything from toys and clothing to electronics and household goods. The result? American companies are suddenly forced to scramble for new suppliers, often at higher costs, while global supply chains, already stretched, are thrown into even greater chaos and uncertainty. Ultimately, these higher costs don't just stay with businesses, they get passed down to everyday consumers, who see prices rise on everything from groceries to electronics, making daily life more expensive for everyone. The stated goal of this sweeping tariff is to protect US industries and put pressure on China to change its trade practices. But in the short term, the most immediate impact is felt in the wallets of American families. This isn't just a headline or a political talking point. It's a real financial shock that families across the country are already feeling as they try to balance their budgets. The sheer size and scope of this tariff have the potential to fundamentally reshape how global trade works, affecting not just the US and China, but economies and markets all around the world. The consequences of this decision will ripple far beyond the negotiating table, influencing international relations, business strategies, and the daily lives of millions for years to come. This tariff is the latest move in a long cycle of US-China retaliation. Each side answers the other's actions with even stronger measures, fueling a dangerous loop. President Trump's 100% tariff directly responds to China's new export controls on rare earth minerals, vital for US industries. The US saw China's move as a threat to its economy and security, so it hit back with its most powerful economic weapon yet. This tit-for-tat has expanded from steel and soybeans to technology, and now critical raw materials. The result? Constant uncertainty for businesses and little room for diplomacy. Instead of talking, both sides escalate with economic punishment. Now with both countries backed into corners, the world waits for the next move. The cycle of escalation is hard to break and the risks keep growing. The global economy hangs in the balance. Rare earth minerals are the backbone of modern technology, found in everything from smartphones to fighter jets. China dominates this market, controlling 60% of mining and 90% of processing worldwide. This near monopoly gives Beijing enormous leverage. By restricting exports, China can disrupt US manufacturing and threaten national security. The US calls this economic blackmail and is scrambling to build its own supply chain. The fight over rare earths shows the trade war is now about strategic resources, not just tariffs. Both sides see this as a matter of national security. The battle for control of these minerals is now central to the economic conflict. The stakes are higher than ever for the industries of the future. The 100% tariff sent shockwaves through global financial markets, triggering sharp drops in stocks. For American businesses, especially smaller ones, costs will double overnight. Many can't easily switch suppliers, so they face tough choices: absorb losses, lay off workers, or raise prices. For consumers, this means higher prices on electronics, toys, furniture, clothing, almost everything made in China. Previous tariffs already raised prices. This one will make the impact unavoidable and widespread. Job losses could follow if companies can't compete or customers stop buying. The ripple effects touch everything from Wall Street to Main Street. This is no longer just a trade story. It's about your paycheck and your cost of living. The financial security of American families is now at stake. The new tariff's first casualty: diplomacy. A planned summit between President Trump and President Xi was abruptly canceled. Trump cited China's hostile actions and said there's no point in meeting. These face-to-face meetings have often paused new tariffs and restarted talks. Without them, the risk of miscalculation and further escalation rises sharply. The lack of dialogue means both sides are digging in, with no clear off-ramp. The breakdown in diplomacy goes beyond trade. It affects cooperation on global issues like climate change and security. The canceled summit signals a deep freeze in US-China relations. With no high-level talks, the conflict enters uncharted territory. The world is left hoping for a way back to the negotiating table. President Trump now faces a major challenge at home. The Supreme Court is set to rule on whether he can impose tariffs without Congress. If the court limits presidential power, future tariffs could require congressional approval, slowing the process and adding political hurdles. This legal battle highlights America's checks and balances. Meanwhile, China's President Xi faces no such constraints. He can act quickly and decisively. This difference gives China an edge in a prolonged conflict. Trump must consider elections, public opinion, and court rulings. Xi does not. The contrast between the two systems shapes the trade war's dynamics. China may be more willing to endure economic pain, betting its centralized system is more resilient. The outcome of this legal fight could reshape US trade policy for years. The world is watching how America's democracy handles this test. China claims its export controls on rare earths are about national security, not aggression, but the timing, right after new US tech restrictions, suggests retaliation. China wants to show it's not a passive player, it has powerful economic weapons too. Trump calls China's actions economic warfare, accusing Beijing of trying to monopolize critical resources. China's dominance in manufacturing and rare earths gives it unique leverage. Chinese leaders believe the world needs China more than China needs the world. Their strategy: resilience and reciprocity, matching US pressure with their own. China is pushing for domestic innovation to reduce reliance on foreign tech and markets. Beijing's message: it won't be bullied and is ready for a long fight. The economic battle is now about who can endure the most pain. The US-China trade war isn't just their problem, it's a global threat that reaches far beyond their borders. Every decision, tariff and policy change between these two giants sends shockwaves through the entire world economy, affecting millions of lives in ways both seen and unseen. As the world's two largest economies clash, the ripple effects hit every nation, big or small. Global supply chains are deeply intertwined, so when the US and China disagree, it disrupts the flow of goods, services, and investments everywhere. No country is truly isolated from the fallout. Countries that supply China or rely on Chinese manufacturing face falling demand and disrupted industries. Factories may slow down or shut their doors, leaving workers without jobs and communities struggling to adapt. The pain is especially sharp in developing nations that depend on exports for growth. Many nations are caught in the middle, pressured to pick sides between the US and China. This creates diplomatic headaches and forces countries to rethink their alliances, trade agreements, and even their long-term strategies for growth and security. This could fracture the global economy into rival blocs, making cooperation harder and the world less stable. Instead of working together, countries may form competing alliances, leading to more division and uncertainty on the world stage. The conflict has moved beyond trade. It's now about technology, influence, and the future global order. Control over innovation, data, and digital infrastructure is at stake, with both sides racing to set the rules for tomorrow's world. The fight over AI, 5G, and tech standards will shape the 21st century, determining who leads in critical industries and who sets the pace for future breakthroughs. The outcome will impact everything from communication to national security. For ordinary people, the risks are real. Job losses, higher prices, and economic uncertainty are already being felt. Everyday life becomes more unpredictable as costs rise and opportunities shrink, making it harder for families to plan for the future. The era of seamless globalization may be ending, replaced by a world where barriers go up and international cooperation is no longer guaranteed. Trade, travel, and investment could all become more complicated and costly. Political decisions in Washington and Beijing now have far-reaching consequences for everyone, from CEOs in boardrooms to workers on factory floors. The choices made today will shape the world's economic landscape for years to come. The future of global trade and stability hangs in the balance. As the world watches, the stakes couldn't be higher, for governments, businesses, and ordinary people everywhere.